Hi, Warriors. Everyone doing okay? Short the dollar? I think that F.A.C.E had you on the right side of the dollar. Even prepped you for it last week, Greg. Everybody. Okay. Ingmar, Mike, AJ, how are you guys? Steve, we have K-Man's in here. Will, good morning to you, or good day. Welcome to F.A.C.E. Hi, Blake. We have Rand here, John Hawkins. Everyone's doing okay. All right. So dollar following through to the downside today as well, but it did hold this moving average. I want to show you guys. It's not enough for me to flip, but here it is. Well, trying to hold this little thing, but I just think it's going to flush. I think it could flush, and by next week we could be at new lows. So when we get to new lows this time, and that's why I thought this was, a 4. We get one more low, and we'll have an RSI reading above 30 is my prediction on the next low. So we'll see, what happens there, and that may be another time where, like a lot of people are saying this will complete wave one down of 3 in the dollar. And the bulls will say this would be completing C down here, and we're going to 120. Some people still have that count. And there's, you never know till you get down there and how it trades off of that level. Gold following through to the downside. And once again, looking uglier. I know there's some people looking for 110. I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is a major top brewing. Anywhere in this 100 level was a pretty good time to exchange silver for gold. I did see one of our guests, Don Dawson, does a lot of seasonals, and he has some pretty bearish seasonals coming up in copper if you're a copper trader. I haven't traded copper in a long time. And then I guess we really have to, address the elephant in the room. Um, we're not that far from contract highs, but I did have this black line drawn in here because when we were back here, remember all the tests we had at 920, 920, 920, and then once it took out 920, that was really the beginning of it. It's above 78.6. I don't know. The next fib is what, 88, Blake, or something like that. Uh, but bears are running out of fibs here. So I don't know. This strength tells me that if I get a break, and what I'd like to see is a break, some type of correction of this is what I'm looking for now. So if we pulled back 50% or so, maybe back to this 5,500 uh, breakout, that's where it really turned good. That might be your break to buy to get long for all-time highs, which are looking more likely. Uh, let's go to Stelios is here today. Good morning,
Hello,
Stel. How are you, buddy? I'm going to give you the
coach.
charts, bro, and
Okay.
I know that when you come in here, you have a message for people. So, what do you
Message.
got? Yeah,
Uh,
message in a bottle.
my advice is
Dale, good morning. I bet you that 95% of the people listening to our show were thinking about that song when you said message.
Oh, really? All right. It just popped into my crazy head. So,
But
um,
first of all, I was gonna thanks, coach. Thanks very much. I was gonna show last update I did on the macro for the Dixie. I thought we were gonna have some kind of pullback, and then we come back as a final leg towards 95, which I think is feasible.
yeah,
And we've had that pullback. I go back on a weekly, which looks a lot better, and that's my target. And I've been away for the past 5 days, and I was watching what's happening in the markets and with Trump and everything. And the market has been celebrating this uh,
Yeah,
well deal or extension, 90-day extension with China. And of course, the bottom line is, what actually changes permanently. But and that's a different story. But the markets for now are kind of thinking, well, it's a temporary thing, but it could well be permanent, and low tariffs are good for everybody. But let me start with yields. I want to show this Dixie because you talked about it, and I agree with you. I think we have one more leg lower. Is it going to be 97? Is it going to be 95? Depends, but I think my target is down here. But
good
let's
one.
start with yields. And by the way, I want to say this is obviously positive developments for the market, what we had with US and China, but the market always gets ahead of itself a little bit, so it's getting very eager to rally towards new all-time highs in the S&P. We might well get there, but what's left after that? What's underneath once everything is the dust is settled in terms of tariffs? Well, we have the US, which has inflation is dropping, yes, very slowly, but it's edging lower. Unemployment is rising again, very slowly, but it's edging higher. And the underlying situation is not one of growth and everything's really great. And I tell you what, if we didn't have this 6% deficit every year of GDP, the situation in terms of GDP would have been a lot worse if we didn't have this extra, fiscal spending every year and more borrowing and more spending. So, is the US economy and the global economy for that matter, is it doing great? Of course not. But the 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 symptoms are not quite there yet because there is so much spending and so much fiscal stimulus. And you can bet that central banks are ready to cut rates again as soon as inflation starts going lower. And with CPI dropping and with oil looking like it wants to go lower. Of course, it's been rallying the last couple of days, but overall, it's not with the increase in supply. I think this is going to be a disinflationary force. But let's start with yields. 10-year US has been rallying back to this zone here, which has been very important. Last time we were here, we kind of, flushed above, took everyone out, and then went right back down. My view remains that I think we're going to be heading towards lower yield levels, but of course we can take out the stops above first. But this is what my view is that we're going to go lower in yield, so higher in bond prices. And this is because, as I said before, um, inflation is edging lower, and in general, I think the economic activity is not enough to justify higher yields. Of course, if there's some kind of a bond crisis, there's a totally different ball game. But all else being unchanged, I think we will be edging lower in yields. Um, I talked about the Dixie, the S&P. We had somebody in the chat room asking about it. Actually, no, asking about gold. I'm going to go in gold later. The S&P is still in buy the dip mode, and I've been writing this on the chat room. Even when I was away, I came in a couple of days and I said, look, I think we're still in buy the dip mode, and everybody wants to be short, and that's the reason why I think we're going to head towards maybe, possibly even challenge the all-time highs. But for now, if you're short, you've been burnt over and over again. So I would definitely not want to be short here in equities. If you ask me, I think it's a 50-50 or more than 50-50 that we challenge these all-time highs again in the near future, especially if it looks like the Fed is edging closer towards cutting again. Then that's going to give one more final push, I think, to equities. After
There's
that,
a Stel,
yep,
there is a narrative
yep,
on equities that this whole rally that you're showing, a big part of it was short covering, but it was retail that
mm,
bought this dip because they're Pavlov's dogs and it's been working forever. But the institutions are sitting on a
us,
ton of cash. They did not come back into this.
yep.
So there's the potential buying power if institutions get comfortable again and want to come back in. That's a lot of firepower.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, let's see. It's going to depend a lot on the underlying economic situation of the US, of China, of the major the major forces out there in the world. Um, Gold, a friend of ours, one of our subscribers asked in the chat room, what do you think about gold? I said, look, I think this reversal from the highs, because the uncertainty has been lifted, at least for now, I think it will continue. I think it's most likely that we're going to head towards 3,100, which is the first fib. And the next one is 2850. I really struggle to see it going lower than that from here. But for now, for the first time in quite a while, if you ask me if I would buy or sell gold, I'll probably sell it, but with these two targets. I wouldn't want to be, I don't naturally want to be short gold, but I think the kind of the macro situation, at least for the next few weeks and a couple of months, it has changed, and all this flight to gold, and because of the uncertainty, is kind of unwinding now, and I think it has just a little bit more to go. Having said all that, what do I think is the medium-term direction? Of course, it's going to be a lot higher. That's what I think. You showed the gold-silver ratio, which is back down below 100. It's very rarely stays above 100, and I think that this is going to be dropping back towards 80 to 90 level, which means that silver should be outperforming. Silver is still in no man's land, kind of in the middle of this channel. It is my preferred long still. It has been underperforming, but at some point we'll get above this 35 level, and then all bets are off. So what else can I have a look at? Cryptos have been doing really well recently. They are correlated with risk, and Ethereum is correlated times 10. I mean, this move has been 40% within a couple of weeks, which is insane, but that's what we have, and we are getting now towards technical resistance. We have the 200 DMA plus the 50% retracement. So, there seems to be some congestion here, and we are in fact pulling back from the 50 DMA, the 200 DMA, sorry. And last one I want to show is oil, which I've said for a while, this zone is mightily important. We broke down, retested, broke down, retested again. I think this is part of a big kind of consolidation sideways, a big retest, and I think we're going to move lower from here. So, and that, of course, as I said before, is disinflationary. We're going to see inflation kind of edging lower, even though everybody seems to think we're going to have, we're going back to 3-4% inflation. I doubt it, with energy prices staying where they are or going lower, and also with the consumers starting to feel the pain after 2 or 3 years of higher yields and higher rates. And I think we're going to be getting moving lower in oil and in inflation gradually.
Do you have any levels still where you would start adding to silver longs on a dip?
Good question. Yeah, if we get back down, I mean, it's a long way from here. If we get down anywhere close to the bottom level of this channel, so
30 and a half?
somewhere around 31, I'd want to
Okay.
be adding. As a
Good.
reminder, I still have longs from 23.10 and 32 and change, so I'm still sitting okay. And depending on price action, I'm probably going to add a little bit more, but I'm happy with what I have at the moment.
Do you and your family sit around and play with the coins and pass them back and forth?
They're in a safety
He
deposit box.
uses them as bait when he goes fishing on his yacht.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bait to get a good captain, maybe. Anyway, thank you, bro.
Thank
Good
you.
having you here. Are you leaving right away, or are you going to hang out
No,
with
I'm gonna
us for
hang
a
out
while?
here. I'm gonna
Okay,
be here.
that's good. Hey, everyone, Stel's hanging out. All right, so how you doing today, K-Man?
I'm doing fine, Dale. How are you?
Good, man. Pretty good. I'm getting run over by NVIDIA. I started it a day or so early. And yeah, even if you waited for all this time to try a short, they still run over you. So,
You know what I said yesterday, right? The Trump, his administration, all the big CEOs are in the sandbox and they're making trillions of dollars of deals. And I think we have to let the sandstorm go by and see where we come out of it afterwards, Dale.
yeah,
I'm not going to stand in the way of what they are doing right now. They really no, it is yesterday. Give and take, there was nearly $1 trillion deals done. I mean, how can you, you can't ignore it, right? It is there. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I really prefer to wait now with US equities, all equities to see where we are when we come out of this Middle Eastern episode and perhaps even, what's going on the war fronts because there may be some kind of news. Although Zelensky really wants to talk to Putin, they will make a decision today, Russia, to know whether Putin is going to go to Istanbul. I think, realistically speaking, the chances are slim. But if he would, that would give risk another push in the back. So on that front, I'm not really going to
We
stand
have
in.
all the ingredients for a melt up. Most of the bulls are talking
Yeah.
7K plus that we
Mm,
ended wave 4. I think Greg is included. If you
mm,
remember, you could go look at his count. But
yeah. Yeah.
anyway, that was it, and new highs are coming.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and in that context, you showed the gold silver ratio. That should really start to move down if we really have more positive news, right?
yeah,
I'm
I
with
thought we'd get one more shot up. I haven't completely. If we start closing back under the 200, I'll give up
well,
on that count.
we have learned over the past months, even years since the pandemic, we have learned that nothing is ever done. Nothing is
Yeah,
ever a done thing. So imagine that things turn sour between the US and China on the trade talks. Gold will be gold will be back at or will be probably trading 4,000, and we
yeah.
will be wrong on this one. But yeah, for now I feel much more
Sanguine.
at ease in
Yeah,
in silver than gold as well, for as long as the
yeah.
the talks are ongoing, right? That is where I am right now.
And platinum's on the verge of if we close over 1,000, that's going to look pretty good. So
Yeah.
they're going to the white stuff. Even the palladium's trying to base out here. So maybe you move from gold to some of the white stuff that's going to participate if they get the economy humming again,
Yeah.
or at least it looks like it's going to hum again.
Yeah. But
What
for the
about
rest,
yen?
the dollar, this, well, I mean, it looks as if, and I was talking about that on the Flow Show as well. It looks that if that some of those dollar sellers just waited for the US CPI to be over, and
Yeah,
then they re-entered the market, and then the dollar got another hit this morning in Europe after the South Koreans confirmed that they talked FX with the US, and that sent all dollar Asia all down again because the market thinking that finally Trump and his administration will score another victory there
with a weaker dollar.
with a weaker dollar. The thing
Yeah,
is, if we remember last Friday, okay, when we had that dollar Taiwan drop, yeah,
yeah.
um, we had this kind of same reaction, and then it reversed, and now I'm seeing the states walk in, and the dollar is crawling back. We are if you look at Aussie is already back to where we
Yeah,
started the day,
started.
well, not
Yeah,
far. Um,
it gave up nothing
yeah, but I mean,
compared to euro and cable didn't even get down to 31. So
no.
I mean, is it possible that you know this wasn't the bottom in euro, and I think it's possible, and
Mm,
then we get one more dip to
yeah. And
110. I don't have the next fib, but maybe there's something one more of these, but above these highs, it's going to look pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I mean by there's still so many moving parts going on that it's still my overall bias, and people were asking me on the flow show as well. My overall bias is still I'm leaning towards a lower dollar, but we if you're short dollars, this take profits. They have a real meaning now. If you're short dollars, especially for us like retail traders, which I trust are most of our audience, you have to take profits as well if you're short, and then you can always re-enter and things like that. But because this market is still turning on a dime.
yeah. I mean, this could too. If the so-called deal, any negative talk comes out,
Yeah,
I mean, the yuan really isn't falling apart with the great deals that they have.
no.
I'm not saying that it can't, but if you see the yuan starting to head up again, that would have me doubt uh, that the Chinese are happy with
Watch,
the so-called deal.
yeah, watch the PBOC fixings because they have been keeping them very, very steady. And that's usually what we see over time is that the market takes dollar CNH away from the fixings, and then at some point they come back to the fixings, whether it's PBOCs playing catch up and then the market coming back to it. But now, this time, the market has come back completely to the PBOC,
Yeah.
which are just below 720. I think we really have to watch those carefully. If they start without too many reasons elsewhere to move them up a little bit, then maybe a signal that they are going to let the yuan go.
Okay, 48, which I believe was Ryan's
Yes.
target, 48 and a half. Look left. Okay.
You shorted it, right?
I'm sure I shorted the dollar. I didn't short yen, but it looks kind of ugly. That this might be it. So we're back to this neckline. I still think that we're going to take this out, even if it's marginally, and trade 38 or something. But I think this has one more low in it, and this has one more low in it. They're pretty much the same trade except for magnitude.
Big
So,
week next week, apparently. Cato is planning to talk to Besant over the G7 meetings, so big
okay.
week for the yen potentially next week.
Okay. Um, let's see. I guess bring Blake in.
Yep.
There's only one left, man.
Hey, good morning.
Is he here? He's
Hey.
always on holidays, isn't he?
Yeah,
No,
always
that.
on holidays. Always.
Where is
Always.
Ryan today?
I think Ryan's him and his wife are running around doing a few things.
They're
So
having a picnic today.
yes, I'm
It's a
sure
hot
she's probably
picnic
viewing it as a
holiday. All
picnic.
right, all
Um,
right.
s- so yeah. So good to hear from you, Stelios. K-Man, he's been coming in and filling in for Ryan as he's been out. But I think it's really interesting. You look at the euro basically stopped at previous support, current resistance. It's that 112.70 level. Today's high is 67
Yeah,
or
great
68 or
look.
whatever it was. Yeah, I mean that. And Dale, remember for the dollar index, we've been talking about the dollar just, it's a bear flag pattern and we're basically at flag support or coming to it. So this is a pretty critical level, and I've been shorting, the dollar for the last couple of days, and I just am short a little bit right now, but I don't know if we're going to get a full on breakdown. I don't see any real data that well, we don't have any data really that I think can move the needle today. And then we have Aussie employment tonight, which, or tomorrow morning if you live in Australia. So I don't know what's going to move the needle today. I think today might be a little bit of catching your breath, consolidating, which I know you were talking about the S&P, and the S&P has been stuck in a really, really tight range. I think let me go to the Forex Analytics chat room really quick. Um, came or not came man, I'm sorry, Kay.
He
Michael Brown said something which I found was
stuck
kind
in
of
the 20
interesting.
pips range.
What's that?
He said stuck in a 20 pips range, 20
Yeah.
points.
Yeah, 20 point high low range, which yeah, it is. I mean, that's a tight. I mean, look at it. Look at how wound up we are right now. I mean, so I'm assuming there's going to be a break today, and what that's gonna do is obviously create some volatility in the FX market, which I still don't know. Honestly, like if the S&P breaks higher, I don't know if that's going to be good for the dollar or bad for the dollar. I have no idea. Correlations are so out of whack right now that I'm not really sure what would happen if we saw a continued rally in equities. What we've seen a lot of recently is as stocks go up, the dollar goes up, and stocks come down, the dollar starts to come down. So I don't know if that's going to be the case. Who knows? One thing that's pretty interesting is you guys were just talking about is the yen, but I want to look at some of the other yen pairs because I think this is where it's pretty important. You got like the euro yen rejected pretty key resistance. That was basically the highs of the year. It was December highs. We were just making new 2025 highs over the last couple of days, and we're failing from that resistance. Sterling yen or guppy, failed at channel resistance here. Kiwi yen at the 618 retracement. Canadian yen, we were trying to break resistance. We got stopped ahead of the 200 DMA. So you look at some of these yen pairs and they don't look very good. So I guess if we saw a bit of a reversal in equities, the yen might firm up a little bit here. I guess that might be something, but I don't know. FX is kind of in no man's land, but there was this headline.
Those all look like good shorts, Blake, by the way.
They do, which would they do. I agree, especially like you take like the pound yen. That's a nice little false breakout.
Even today, euro yen. Yeah, even today, that's
so that's why I bring it up, Dale, because if the S&P, as you pointed out, we're at the 78% retracement, previous support. You had the same black line that I have, its previous channel, right? So, that's if we continue to go higher and maybe reach that 88% retracement. But let's say we just stop here. Let's say there's some profit taking, or maybe there's a headline that, freaks the market out, and we start to see a little bit of a pullback here. What might happen is you might see those yen pairs pull back. That might be my vehicle of choice in the FX market if we see stocks start to pull back. But you look at intraday RSIs, we're just pegged at the highs. Nothing signals that we're going to see a bearish reversal just yet. There's no, I mean, we could say there's a little bit of divergence, I guess, but you're really nitpicking.
I think the euro cross shorts, and let's go to K too. They look like $1 million idea. How about you, Kay?
You're talking about these?
No, the yen crosses.
Oh, the yen crosses. Yeah, Kay, what do you say?
I know that Kay trades them a lot. So
yeah, well, actually, I'm pretty fortunate to be able to say that I took my profit on the long sterling yen yesterday
nice.
above 196. Just because the levels we were at, the zone in dollar yen, and also, but I think a lot will.
What would make you turn?
Currencies are doing as well. And today the market got a bit spooked by those comments by South Korea. I don't know. I still want to see the confirmation that Japan is not going to show their willingness to cooperate with the US, because they have been saying up to now that the market will decide upon the yen level. But if all the Asian countries agree to let their currency strengthen versus the dollar, it could just have a ripple effect on the yen as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just pulling this up because this is a really freaky ass chart.
Yeah, but then look at what happened afterwards, and look at what happened in the euro dollar afterwards. I mean, we followed the move up, and then all of a sudden reversed, and that's where I'm a little. If you look at the euro dollar,
I have it right matched up. This is the euro right here.
Yeah, you see, it didn't capture all of it on the Taiwan, right? Because we did on Friday, was it on Monday that we did the low in the euro dollar, right?
Yeah, this would have been yeah.
That's Friday.
Yeah, this is Friday. So on Friday, the euro didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, and then we did the low. So I mean, it's not a guarantee that all dollars continue to suffer when Asian currencies rally. I mean, it's just something that I noted. But well, for now, yeah, I think it's because the yen crosses, don't forget that they are also dependent on risk, and if you're because the S&P is trying above 59 again, yeah, they could just hold up. I'm not going very short yen crosses right now, you know.
Yeah, there's something that just came out just a minute ago, and I want to talk about it. This is the ECB supervisors step up checks on banks, dollar funding on Trump concerns. That came from Reuters. Basically, if you guys got to think about what that headline means. They're talking about dollar swaps and funding not being available should banks need it, which has readily been available. The Fed keeps their window open, but people think that in a crisis situation, Trump might pressure the Fed not to open that window and make liquidity, the dollar, very liquid for banks who need it. And that's a concern that the ECB is raising. That would be crazy. I couldn't imagine that happening. Like we were just talking about it in the chat room. By the way, if you're not, let me just say this. If you're not in the chat room having these type of conversations, like, we're talking about, I was just with Michael Brown of Pepperstone. We were just talking about that. What a big deal that would be. That's a situation when we found out in 2007, 2008, and I was talking about this about 30 minutes ago in the chat room. When the markets go into crisis, everybody like rushes to the dollar. Whether you like it or not, the dollar at this moment in time is the reserve currency of choice. So if there is a dollar funding issue and there is some sort of event that creates this need for liquidity, and everybody rushes in to buy the dollar, if there's not dollars available, that's when you get a massive squeeze. That's when the euro goes from that's when the euro goes from where we're trading at right now at 112 down to
Parity.
you see the euro drop to like 95 cents or something, and the Aussie dollar drops to 55 cents, whatever the case is.
That's a chocolate milkshake.
Yeah, it's the milkshake theory, and we found that out back in 2000, 2008, or 2007, 2008. And you guys probably, well, some of you don't remember this, but everybody was trying to diversify away from the dollar. Russia, Middle East, everybody's like, we don't want to use the dollar anymore. They would start dealing amongst each other's. And then we had this, crisis, the housing crisis, with Lehman Brothers, and all the banks started failing, and everybody's rushing to dollars. And the analogy you use is the tide went out, and we saw exactly who had no underwear, no swim trunks on. And that is the ECB's concern right now. It's not a direct concern like, oh, this is an issue, but it could be. And that they're raising that issue because that's one of the trump cards that Trump is holding. Well, at least he thinks he's holding. And I don't think it would work under the current Fed leadership with Powell, but you put a Waller in, you put in a yes man in the Fed, in charge of the Fed next year in 2026, then that becomes a bigger issue.
That's
So
Arthur Burns' time, like Nixon did.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what Nixon did.
I wasn't trading
Either
during
I
those.
read Blake. I read about it. Okay, well, no, I was around. I'm kidding.
No,
Go ahead.
no, but that's good. Dale. I always credit you with having this amazing sponge memory.
Yeah.
So you always have like all of your dates correct and when things happen. It's always very impressive to me. So, hey, I know we're running into your.
I'm not sure if Leo is here. I'm looking at names. Leo, is that you, Leon B?
No,
Raise your
that's our Leon from our
Okay.
chat room.
I don't
That wouldn't
see
be him.
Leo. Raise your hand if you registered under something else.
All right.
Okay, I don't know if he's here.
John says if the ECB is worried, definitely don't worry.
Yeah.
That's funny. I also noticed Steve is here. Steve, good morning. While Dale's looking around, what's going on today? Anything that you're that's caught your eye that Stelios, other than Stelios being here?
Good morning, mate.
Good morning.
Stelios being here definitely
Nice.
caught my eye. Unfortunately, he's not on in his swimsuit, so I got
Right.
a little bit disappointed by that. Listen, the the past roughly 24 hours, perhaps a little bit more, we've seen a pullback in the dollar, right? And I had already expressed my doubts about the dollar's rebound higher because, yes, we had broken through a couple of resistance levels on one hand, but on the other hand, the rebound was still unfolding in a manner that remained corrective in nature. So that keeps, in essence, the question mark in my mind. Was this recent dollar rebound just, a corrective pullback and nothing more than that? I mean, the rebound is still channeled. And I think we need to wait for a few more days to, solidify, that one way or the other. I'm currently watching as support 99.80. I think if we break below that, there is a very good chance that whatever rebound we had in the dollar has already been done and dusted, and I think we should be looking lower. Equities is a different story, though. Equities remain very strong. I'm still in the camp that I have disbelief in the probability of U.S. equities reaching new all-time highs already. But with this market, you can never be 100% sure. Right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Gold is on key support, by the way, as well, today as we speak.
I'm sorry, what was?
Gold is also currently testing important support, so that's also something to watch today.
Yeah, looking at gold, and I know everybody's focused on gold. This is I've said this for a long time. You can actually see it in Forex Analytix if you just look at the bias chart, which for some reason, let me refresh that really quick. You look at the bias chart, which is right here. I have it in asterisks at 3160 because 3160 is basically the 618 retracement of this entire move. And you can also see that black line. It's right there. It's also a breakout point. So if we start breaking below 3160, that's where I go from being bullish to being neutral in gold.
Yeah, that's the previous all-time high, roughly at 3167, if I remember the level, 3167, 68, something like that.
Yep.
So definitely that's going to be the first important test for potential opening the door for more downside. In the first pullback, we never made it there. We made it to exactly where we are at the moment. We're currently testing this previous low that we registered in April. So there, yes, we dip lower than 3167, then probably we're opening the door for a bigger pullback in gold. Of course, gold has been now in a multi-year massive uptrend, so people should be cognizant of the fact that whenever you're fading such a strong trend, there are dangers, right?
Yeah, I don't know how comfortable I'd be being short gold. I think just buying gold on dips is the way to go.
This can be the year of more surprises.
Right, absolutely. I think
when I'm talking about surprises, I'm not talking about positive ones, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks, Steve, for chiming in. Dale, were you able to find your guest?
No, it looks like a no-show.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, let's Dale, do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap things up for the day?
I just want to ask Steve if he thought if the full moon was beautiful over Athens the other night.
Moon is always beautiful to,
the dollar peaked on it.
Let me check with my horoscope, and I'm going to get back to you on that.
All right. Well, anyway, I want to read your palm later, so take a picture. And,
absolutely. If you also want, I don't know if you have that in the Western world. It's an Eastern kind of thing. They also read the coffee. You drink like
Oh my God, yeah, yeah.
you drink Turkish coffee or Greek coffee. It's the same.
I
Just and
I would
then
trade.
supposedly there are some usually ladies that take the cup from the coffee you
Yeah.
already drank, and based on how the patterns of the leftover coffee are, supposedly they can help you identify what's in the future for you.
Oh my
So
God,
perhaps you
I
should look
just
into that as well.
I'm telling you, I'm on my way because I have no
Okay.
idea. I have no idea about the future.
New horizons opening up, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I think that we had people the right way for this bounce in the dollar all last week and yesterday in the rooms, and when I came in said liquidate long dollar positions and get short. And whether or not this continues or not, if you can't make money on a 150 pip move from when that range, you need to shut down your trading account because you're not taking partials, you're not trailing stops, and you're swinging for the fences. Let me tell you something. Home run balls, the biggest home run hitters in baseball were also the guys that struck out the most. Singles and doubles are great.
Yeah, that's the epitome of risk reward, right?
Yeah, take your singles and doubles. So anyway, so far so good with the way the community's been led this week. So great job, Dream Team. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And if you're not catching this stuff, you got to be involved in a community because especially if you haven't been trading for more than 5 years, and if you've been trading for more than five, and you've developed some habits that need to be broken, you break them by watching other people that don't fall victim to that and see how they operate. And even psychology, you ever notice you go into a room and you could feel a vibe, like there's good energy in here, or wow, everyone seems, pretty bummed out. Just go check out the environment because the environment in there is supportive and it's going to help you. And that's all I have to say. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. We'll see everyone tomorrow. And those of you uh, who are not members yet, you have about a half an hour to join with the Liberation Order offer and be in the chat room with these guys for the morning edge and write down numbers like bias charts. You know, get better. And you're either going to pay the market or pay to learn. Okay. Well, the dollar trade, if you had a one lot on yesterday, paid for a year. And I rest my case. Everyone have a great afternoon. Good hunting, Dream Team, and
Thank you,
we'll
Coach.
be great to hear you, Stel.
Thank you, Dale.
Thanks,
Blake,
Coach.
Game Man, guys. Have a good day trading, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Adios. You're welcome, guys. You have been warned. Yeah, David. It's not a and that's an order. All right.